What's going on, everyone? Alan here with Parrots&Co, and in this video I wanted to talk about how to handle your parrot for beginners. And I have my model here, my Senegal parrot Elfie. So I wanted to really give you guys insights on how to properly handle your parrot, especially if you're just getting started or if you're thinking about getting a parrot, so that you set yourself up for success and you can just handle your parrot in the right way to promote safe handling, but more importantly, make sure that your parrot and you have proper foundations in terms of safe parrot handling and making sure that you don't lead to things like shoulder rushing or your parrot flying away from you when it's on your hand, when it gets spooked, or things like this. So here I have Elfie with me, and basically one thing that we have to really understand and know is that parrots are wild by nature. They're not domesticated. And because of this, we want to make sure that when we handle our parrots, that we are moving slowly with our parrots. And the reason that this is important is because, by nature, parrots are wild animals and, they're not domesticated. And why that's important is because parrots have natural fight or flight instincts. They're naturally prey animals in the wild. So we want to make sure that because of this, we approach our parrots slowly and that we are working with our parrots in a way that is intentful. So when you approach your parrot, don't run up to it, don't rush up to it with your hand. It's going to trigger either its flight response and it's going to be afraid and fly away, or it's going to lunge at you and bite you because it's also afraid and it's just trying to do the next best thing it can to protect itself. When handling your parrot, you never want to squeeze your parrot too hard or grab your parrot too hard to a point where you can injure it. Parrots are very delicate for the most part. They have a lot of soft brittle bones, light cartilage, especially in the central chest area. You just want to make sure that you are gentle with your parrots and that you're not roughhousing them or overhandling them or squeezing them too hard, because they can also get injured. So the very first command that I would recommend that you guys teach your parrot, or the first trick you teach your parrot and you should get down in terms of the basics, is the simple step up. And really all you're asking your parrot to do is to go from a perch or your hand or a tabletop, whatever, and come on to your hand without biting, without hesitating. And really what this looks like is something like this. So I would say, Elfie, step up. And it steps up for me. Elfie steps up for me, and he is basically good to go. This is basically a good place to start with your parrot, because you're going to need to get your parrot out of your cage, put it back in your cage, back in its cage safely, and just work with your parrot and be able to transport it, right? And with the step up, you want to make sure that the step up is, for the most part, something that you're asking your parrot to do. You're not forcing it to do. A lot of people say, hey, just shove your hand into your parrot's belly so that it steps up for you. Sometimes if your parrot doesn't want to step up and you're not getting the cue that it doesn't want to step up, this can lead to things like biting. So it's almost like you're asking, hey, can you step up for me? Are you willing to step up for me? Versus, hey, step up for me now because I said so, right? We always want to make sure that we're working with our parrots, not working against them. And the other thing I want to talk about is proper hand orientation when you're working with your parrot and you're holding it. For example, sometimes I see a lot of people hold their parrots when they're asking them to step up. They're kind of doing this. And what a parrot's natural response is going to be when you have your hand down is it's going to want to start walking up to the other side of your hand. Or if you kind of have your parrot like this, parrots naturally want to go to the highest point of elevation, and it's going to lead to something called, shoulder rushing, where, your hand's kind of loopy or hanging down like this, and then your parrot just wants to walk down and up to the highest point on your body, which is your shoulder. And I see this a lot with baby birds or parrots who haven't really learned how to properly position themselves on your hand, right? The other component that you also want to take a look at when you're holding your parrot is make sure that, for the most part, to prevent shoulder rushing as much as possible, is to have your hand parallel or slightly upward. So when Elfie starts trying to walk down my hand, so to speak, I basically start tilting my hand a little bit up if he starts trying to walk down, and it just reorients him to go to the highest point. He's not too bad about it, but there are other parrots who are a little bit worse or naughtier about this, so to speak. And the other thing that's component is being able to gently hold your parrot's foot. I mean, you don't have to squeeze it, but you can't see it now because of the camera angle. But I generally, when I'm working with Elfie, I'm holding one foot gently, and I can really read his body language that way. When he starts getting spooked, when he's getting ready to fly, I can feel it in his feet before anything else. You know, they just tense up a little bit. You can start to feel a little bit of a vibration, and not just for reading your parrot's body language, this is important, but also to prevent fly-offs. Like, your parrot might get scared by something in its surrounding, and it's going to naturally say, oh my God, fight or flight, and it's going to want to take off. Gently holding that foot can really warn you before it's going to happen, but also prevent your parrot from flying off. And it's important to not squeeze too hard on your parrot's foot because they are very soft, very brittle. They have a lot of joints in there, very much different than, you know, a human's foot or hand. Now, the other thing to consider is shouldering, right? Should you shoulder your parrot? And if so, when is the right time to really be able to shoulder your parrot? Well, to be honest with you, shouldering your parrot is one of those things where I typically don't recommend you do unless your parrot is going to step down when you ask it to, and it doesn't run behind your head or try to fly away or tries to bite your hand when you ask it to step up. If your parrot hasn't learned to step up yet, and if it, you know, won't step up, you know, when you ask it to for the most part, then I don't recommend you shoulder your parrot because sometimes when parrots are shouldering and they get spooked by something or they see something out there that can potentially be dangerous, they'll either fly away or they can nip your ear or your face or anything like that as a kind of way to let you know that there is, you know, looming danger out there, so to speak, right? So it's for safety reasons for yourself, for your parrot, but more importantly, if you can't get your parrot off your shoulder, you want to make sure that you first master the step up command before shouldering your parrot. Another important thing is too, when you first get a parrot, you're a brand new bird owner and maybe you have a rehome bird, you don't really have a bond with that parrot yet. You don't know what it's going to do. So out of safety, I would recommend that you don't shoulder your parrot initially until you do have confidence in your parrot's ability to step down, and also confidence in terms of the bond with your parrot and the tameness with your parrot and your just overall relationship. Another thing to consider is to make sure that you don't have any jewelry on when your parrot is shouldering if you do decide to do it, because naturally if you have a, you know, big shiny earring or object around your face or glasses, your parrot can't help itself and it's going to want to be curious to see what it's all about, and it can start pulling or playing with it, and of course we don't want that, right? We want to make sure that your body parts are completely intact, including your ear and your earrings. Now, another thing that I would recommend that you also get down in terms of the basics of parrot handling is going to be toweling and the ability to put your parrot on its back. There's going to be situations where you might need to transport your parrot in case of emergency, or, you know, you getting your parrot out of the shower and you want to dry them off and you want to towel them. We want to make sure that your parrot is comfortable with toweling, so to speak, so that, you know, you can put them on its back, you can safely transport it inside a carrier or outside of a carrier in case of an emergency, things like this. And yeah, just making sure that your parrot is comfortable going on its back and just something being around its body, like, you know, like a towel. So Elfie naturally does this pretty well. He'll let me cup him with my hand and then just put him on his back, and this is something that's actually not natural to parrots to go on their back, so it is something that you're going to want to do with time and, you know, just build that positive reinforcement for, you know, your parrot going on his back like that. And it's just another thing to work on. Again, it's more for toweling and in case you need to transport your parrot for some sort of emergency situation and be able to wrap them in a towel. Aside from that, I would also recommend that you have designated areas where your parrot can play and hang out, especially when you start getting a parrot that is flighted and it's comfortable flying around. A lot of problems I see with a lot of different parrot owners is that their parrot will fly to different parts of the house. They'll chew furniture, they'll go into sometimes areas they're not supposed to, get into trouble, they'll go into drawers and things like this. And the reason that I think that it's important is because you want to just make sure that your parrot overall has a designated area and you don't give it a reason to go somewhere else in terms of hanging out and getting into trouble, chewing wires, things like this. With Elfie, I have a designated area where he can hang out and play. I generally don't take him with me around the house. I won't put him on the kitchen. I won't show him where the food's at. I won't show him, hey, come in this spot. Oh, by the way, look, there's fruit here. Oh, I'm going to come here on my own free will and get into trouble or try to find snacks or, you know, whatever it is that parrots like to do, including foraging. So another tip to handling your parrot is just making sure that your parrot is in an area where, you know, it's designated to hang out and it can basically be there comfortably without the necessity or temptation to go somewhere else and get itself into trouble. So these are just some of the tips that I want to cover in the basics on parrot handling. Aside from that, make sure to check out the free download called the Parrot Shop Formula. It's basically a how-to guide on parrot nutrition, motivation, and, you know, proper fundamentals in terms of diet to make sure that your parrot is motivated to train. You know, part of a well-behaved parrot is also the fundamentals, including what it eats, how much sleep it gets, and setting up the fundamentals right with your parrot. That's it for this quick video, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Elfie and I signing out, and we will see you guys next time.